Well, thank you very much. And since I'm in San Francisco, I will mention two other items on my resume. In fact, three. I started schooling at the West Portal Grammar School in Forest Hill. I then transferred over to St. Brendan's for the opening class in 1947, and then I went on to St. Ignatius. So there's where I got my foundation. The rest was just filling in the details. If you've had the Dominican nuns or the Jesuits in the pre-Vatican era, you know what I'm talking about. So when I did come back as governor 27 years after I left, I promised three things. One, I'd level with the people, tell them the truth. No more smoke and mirrors on the budget. Number two, there would not be any new taxes unless the people themselves voted yes on new taxes. And number three, I would strive to return decision-making closer to the cities, the counties, and the local school districts, believing in the principle of subsidiarity that the institution closest to the problem should have the appropriate responsibility to deal with it. For more than a decade, budgeting in Sacramento relied on gimmicks and accounting maneuvers to deal with a roller coaster of sharply rising and falling tax receipts. Two bubbles. Yes, there were two bubbles. One from the internet boom and the other from promiscuous mortgage expansion. Both of these caused unsustainable spending. And they were followed by the recent Great Recession and a 23% drop in general fund revenue, the biggest since the Depression. When I showed up at the state capitol last year, the deficit was $27 billion. $27 billion on a revenue stream approximately $90 billion. Now, where are we? 2 years later, we've made a lot of tough cuts. We've made decisions. We have a structurally balanced budget. It'll either be balanced for the remainder of the year with cuts to our schools and our colleges, and our community colleges, massive cuts, about $6 billion, or it'll be balanced with money to our schools from Proposition 30. It's that simple. This is a stark choice before the people of California. This is not about electing a human being who may follow through or not with whatever is said prior to the election. This is a decision the people themselves make irrevocably once you say yes on Proposition 30, or if you decide to say no, the consequences inexorably follow. Putting the fiscal house in order and getting to the structurally balanced budget has required difficult budget cuts. Difficult budget cuts. $500 million from the court system. I don't know if there are any judges here or any lawyers. That's real. That's real. That's layoffs, reduced court hours, but we had to make it. A $1 billion cut, 18% from the prison system. 30 to 40,000 fewer inmates housed in our prisons. Prisons are expensive. Wonder why we have so much spending in California. When I left in 1983, we didn't have 23 prisons that were built subsequently. So, and then redevelopment. A lot of good things got built with redevelopment, but it was money that derived from the local property tax that was intended historically for core services, education, police, sheriffs, county health. So what happens is that over a period of time, what was going to be a relatively small program to invest in building and economic development became a 12% diversion from the real property tax. And then the money that wasn't there, that historically would have gone to schools or for local police and sheriffs, the county hospitals, had to be made up from Sacramento. And Sacramento, being on this roller coaster, had to make it up with budget gimmicks, various maneuvers, various pretenses that got us into the mess and resulted in California having the 50 worst credit rating out of our 50 states. But make no mistake about it, there were big cuts, big cuts. California has reduced 30,000 positions, 50 boards and commissions, and other task forces. The Corrections Department down 18%. Adult day health care cut. Williamson Act subventions that encourage farms to remain in existence instead of going to subdivisions, cut. The refundable child care and dependent tax credit, cut. State grants for low-income seniors and persons with disabilities, the halt, the blind, the aged, that's back to early 1980 levels. Yeah, we cut them. Their monthly stipend that's been around, for the last 60 years, it's been reduced substantially. The CalWorks grants, they're down to where they were in the late 80s. That's 30 years ago. And instead of having a 5-year term, we got it down to 4 years the first year. Now it's down to 2-year limit unless you're complying with the federal work requirements. State support for the University of California, down 25%. State support for Cal State, down 25%. These are real numbers. K through 12 education, we're about $9 billion below the funding level in 2007-8. That's real dollars. So I run into people as I campaign around. They say you got to cut more, but they don't have the faintest idea of the cuts that have already been made, and they're serious. But we've got our fiscal house in order. Make no mistake about that. And the California dream is more vibrant than ever. In the last 2 years, over 300,000 new jobs created at a rate much higher than the rest of the nation. Personal income has increased an average of $90 billion each of the last 2 years. We're now at $1.8 trillion. The first time I spoke at the Commonwealth Club back in 1975, the personal income of California was $139 billion. $139 billion to $1.8 trillion. These declinists, these dystopians, as I like to call them, who have this noir view of California, they're all wet. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. This is a vibrant, creative place, one of the most extraordinary pieces of real estate and collection of human beings in the whole world. Our exports are up 17% to $108 billion. Venture capital investment in California is half of what the rest of the country gets. And of course, we're leaning in the clean tech investment and the clean tech production. Patents are issued in California at 4 times the rate of the next state, which is New York. We have thousands of biotech companies that didn't even exist. I talked to Irwin Jacobs a few months ago, the founder of Qualcomm, a fantastic company. He told me that before the early 80s, not only did he not even conceive of the company, he could not even conceive of the products that are now being manufactured. The Mars rover was built in Pasadena, in Southern California, is being driven. I went there, saw the scientists, Chinese, Israeli, French, German, Indian, Russian, people from all over the world. They're still coming. The gold rush, they came from all over the world too, to extract wealth from the ground, from the rivers, the mountains. Now people come here to extract wealth from the collective imagination of all those that are here. The companies we got, I think back on Apple. When I was running for Secretary of State, there was no Apple. Now we got Apple, Qualcomm, Broadcom. Of course, we've had HP for a while, but we have hundreds of these companies. California is up among the best, and we're the leading place for innovation and creativity in the world. But, and here's the big but, we don't stay on top by disinvesting in our schools, by disinvesting in our colleges and great University of California. The case for Proposition 30 is crystal clear. Invest in the California dream. Keep the creativity and the innovation alive and well and expanding and intensifying. Proposition 30 is very straightforward. It has 2 taxes. One is for 4 years, one is for 7 years. The one for 4 years will cover all purchases except food and gasoline. It's 1/4 of 1%. You buy something for $4, you pay a penny more. Buy 2 of it, you pay 2 pennies more. We can afford that. Now, the biggest bulk of the tax comes from the highest income earners. People, for the most part, filing as married couples who make over $500,000 a year. And now, let me do the math for you. If you're making that much money, you got at least 50,000 deductions. So let's say you make 600,000. You deduct 50,000, you got 550. You pay tax under Proposition 30 on the 50,000. That's 1%. That's $500. And then you deduct it on your federal, you're talking $350. That's what we're asking people. Now you make $1 million, you pay more, $7,500, and on it goes. But here we are in a time of need. Those who have done the best, can't they help us in California's time of need? And by the way, when I talk about the best, I just have a very powerful statistic. The top 1 percentile, has increased their growth in the share of income by 165%. The top 10%, this is since the 80s. So in the 80s, the top 10% have increased their share of income by 76%. The other 80% have either not increased at all or gone down 8%, because there's been a redistribution from 80% of the people in California over 30 years to the top 20, more specifically to the top 10 and to the top 1. So, looking back to my seminary education, I refer to Saint Luke, who said in his gospel, chapter 12, verse 48, to those to whom much is given, much is required. We face not only a political question, not only an economic question, we face a moral question. Our society is held together by the contributions of all of us, all 38 million. We all do what we can. So each of us do what we can, and for those who have been most blessed, we're going to ask you for 7 years, the biblical 7 years. Lean years, fat years. You've had them both. So now, as we face this difficult period ahead, I believe Proposition 30 comes at just the right time with just the right formula. That's the case for Prop 30. It's pretty simple. I can reduce it even more summarily, and that is money into the schools and colleges, into the California dream, or out. In or out, yes or no, on or off. There's no middle way. Or, if I could quote my Latin, tertium non datum. A third way is not given. It's yes or no. In sum, we cleaned up a big budget mess, and now we have a structurally balanced budget for the first time in a decade. By California putting our fiscal house in order, we've been upgraded by the rating agencies. They're now saying we're positive. We've lowered our borrowing cost, and California's on the move again, adding jobs and investment in our state at a higher rate. We have to build for the future to ensure that growth. This means temporary revenue to invest in our schools. I was very impressed by the speech that Alexander Solzhenitsyn gave at Harvard many years ago. In that speech, he challenged all of us in the West. And he said that courage is the most important virtue, and it's a quality that I see declining throughout Western society. I want California to prove Solzhenitsyn wrong, that we have the courage to make tough cuts, tough investment, a temporary tax, and pull together Republicans and Democrats, young and old, for this dream called California, alive today and alive for just as long as we believe in it and have the courage to make it real. Thank you.